No, I jumped in first. Molly. Molly Misses her mommy. What are you doing under there? What mess are you getting into? All right, so let's get started. Today we've been talking about desire and we've been talking about discipline. And today I want to walk you through a little bit of understanding. You are never taught this skill. You were never taught how to build desire. You were told to have it. You were told it would be good for you to use it, but you were never taught. I don't know. Maybe you were. I know I wasn't. We just think that it's this internal rock of awareness that we should understand desire, and it's not. Desire is we think we're broken, and we were never built. So at the end of these conversations, at the end of these sessions, so this is actually going to be a 5-part series. It's that big. And so we're going to be diving into taking away the illusion of shame around desire. So my goal is that you'll understand how shame prevents the acquisition of life skills. Let's think about this for just a second. Just for a second, I don't mean clear your mind, but think of a skill you currently have that was unattainable. Think of a skill you're about to go teach to a student, a client, or child that is impossible. Really nothing impossible. Really nothing difficult once you make the decision. So shame of the desire is what prevents us from acquisition of life skills. We're going to identify the cycle of shame-based suppression, and we're going to begin to separate identity from ignorance and learn how the nervous system reacts to the perceived how many of us have ever thought we were incompetent? How many of you ever thought I was incompetent? So, shame doesn't just say you did something wrong. Shame says you are something wrong. Where do you think this is kind of an open dialogue here. Where do you think we say I'm something wrong? Where do we think we're to blame for the thing we have? In what areas of our life this happens? We know it happens. In what areas of our life does this happen where I'm the problem? Open dialogue. Where? Relationships. Yep.
I was supposed to say it.
Yep. There. Okay. So that's a big one. How about weight loss? Mm-hmm. I'm the problem. I can't stop eating. Right? How about identity? All of these things, you did something wrong. Shame says you are something wrong. And when that belief sets in, the brain goes into a perceived protective mode, not learning. How much learning can you do when you're getting beat on? Do you realize why network marketing fails? For most people. Because we are beating on them the wonderful opportunity of possibility. Do you realize when we're teaching, you know why personal development doesn't work? Because we're beating on them the possibilities of their future instead of uncovering and releasing the shields they have up, because they can't hear. They can't hear. This is why we move out of strategy and into state. When this is nervous system, this is neuroencoding, this isn't language, this is wired in your body. When your nervous system is wired for survival, not growth, even the simplest skill feels like a threat. How many of you feel saying no is a threat? How many of you feel speaking up is a threat? How many of you feel receiving help is a threat? And if it's a threat, listen carefully, write it down. If it's a threat, write this down. If it's a threat, it's not practice. What do we need to do to create our new habits? Practice. And if we're not practicing, it's a threat. How many of you are excited about this so far? Yeah. Go on. Listen, here's what I want you to say. I want you to write at the top of your paper, I am undoing my shame. Write it down. I am undoing my shame. We all have it. I got it. Now listen, I'm probably the leader of the group. I'm the Mickey Mouse Club leader of the shame group. I'm learning how to undo it. So when the nervous system is wired for survival, you know, when you're not in survival, when you finally go, ah, that's what I look for. Because I put you in survival, not intentionally, but I know we're going to go through it. And my goal is I have to work with you. I got to get you out of the zoo. I saw a good quote the other day, and I saw a version of it, and I heard it. I heard it in a movie. People were born in the jungle and taught to survive in the zoo. And you are in the zoo right now, surviving. And if I take you out and put you back in the jungle, which is your natural instinct, it scares the living bejeebies out of you. But you were born in the jungle. And I know you're safe in the jungle because I'm not talking to you in the zoo. You want to stay in the zoo? Let me know how that works out for you. Anything else before I go? You want to get out of the zoo? You want to get back to your key capabilities and capacities and your true desires? Welcome to the jungle. And when you get in the jungle, it's like, oh, I'm by myself. Also known as the hero's journey. Answering your call is the first step through the door. And once you get through the door, there ain't no one there except your mentor shows up. And your mentor ticks you off to high hell and back because they're not going to give you strategies. And you're like, screw this, I'm going back to the zoo. my neighbor, Henrietta the hippo, she was all right. She could have eaten me, but there were bars between us. So we get into the shame loop. So here's the cycle of suppression. There's 5 of them. You may want to write them down. We're going to go into detail in each of them. There's the insecurity gap. The insecurity or the insecurity gap is noticed. You notice what you don't have. You notice what you're not good at. Insecurity or the gap is noticed in our life. So think about this. I really want you to, I'm teaching you to help teach you. Does that make sense? You're all inner circle. You're all amazing students. Here's my question to you. At what point in our life do you think we become wired to notice what we don't have or to feel insecure? When do you think that happens? When's the earliest time that happens in our life? This is where I talk and then you talk.
Probably around toddler, where you're starting to move away from the help of other people.
So are you telling me that shame is wired in before we understand human skills?
Almost. Well, how many you have talked about it that nobody could say no to Mason. There's a lot of no. That's when
Well,
a
but
lot of
so
no
so now we
happens.
go so now we go to kindergarten.
Oh,
What's the first thing we notice? What we don't have. Sally shows up with the new shoes and the lunchbox, and I wanted a I wanted a Batman lunchbox. I didn't have a Batman lunchbox. I didn't have a metal lunchbox. I had a paper bag. You know why I wanted to throw the lunchbox out the window? Because I'm left-handed. And every time I picked up my box, my hand would go through the loop and open up the flap. Lunchboxes are designed for people who are right-handed. So now I felt even more shame that every time I went to open up my lunchbox, that my peanut butter and jelly fell out. And so if the shame loop is what we're dealing with now to create finances, to create wellness, to create relationships, if the insecurity is there, I notice what I don't have. We got to go back. When did that start? So do you think 20 minutes of dialogue is going to outdo 40, 50 years? This is intense work. Now, the difference is you can be the kid who wants to knock down his teacher in the water pit by throwing a softball and hitting that thing and just throw up a bunch and eventually you'll hit it, or you can practice and become a sniper. And what I want to teach you in the world of personal undevelopment is how to become a sniper to all of the things that keep you stuck. So that's number one, insecurity or gap is noticed. Number two, shame narrates. Shame narrate it as a flaw. The gap, the lack, shame tells the story of that insecurity or that gap is the flaw. The fact that I didn't have the lunchbox has made me wrong, made me bad, made me laugh.
Hey, may I ask you something?
Sure.
I just you after you mentioned the lunchbox, I remembered something that I thought I'd forgotten. Try not to cry here. On cue. So this is what happened. This is a true story. Back in probably fifth or sixth grade, right? I mean we were broke. We're very broke. And my mother used to make these sandwiches I would take to school because she wouldn't have money as to give me lunch money. She would just make all these sandwiches, but everybody else bought food at the school cafeteria or whatever, and I was the only kid that had sandwiches made from home. And I remember there was these sandwiches that were wrapped up with ribbon on it and the napkins in it and so on, and it was just beautifully made. But I used to throw them in the garbage, and I'd buy lunch with my schoolmates, and I'd be throwing these sandwiches in the garbage. And it happens so often that my my Bible study teacher, and by the way, we had this class once a week. He started notice. So we had this class every Thursday. I remember it now. And I did this for so long that he started noticing the guy that comes to school once a week. He started noticing that on Thursdays there are these wrapped up homemade sandwiches in the garbage bin. And he asked who threw these sandwiches in the garbage, and I said I did. He said okay. And then after class, he approached me. He said, "Why did you throw this in the garbage?" So he didn't want to expose me in front of everybody, so he
Right.
did the right thing. He asked me, "Why are you throwing these sandwiches in?" And I told him, I'm just, we're broke, and I see everybody else is running to the school cafeteria. And I'm eating my sandwich here all by myself, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And they, this is what broke me. So he told my headmaster, what happened. And my headmaster called my mom and told her what happened. And I got home one day and she was just, I mean, she was all hands and legs, man. She was pouring out of her. And I remember I felt so bad because I knew we were broke. I knew we were broke. And I guess the question is it really possible that shame can take us over so much and it can beat up on us so much that we really disregard the obvious just because we feel ashamed? Is that really possible, or am I just tripping?
So let me ask my mentor. Hey, AJ, did you hear that story that kid just told?
Yeah.
What would you say since you lived something similar to that? Could shame take you over that much that you didn't even know it?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, it can.
And so what do you do with it once you recognize it? What would you suggest?
I would suggest that you shut the hell up and eat the sandwich first and
Well,
foremost.
but here's the thing. Law of opposites, right? That's all we're going to talk about. Law of opposites. So it's not emotional or anything else. It's simply law of opposites. How many other kids had a sandwich from home?
There's maybe like two of us probably out of
Okay.
20 something.
So you were in the top 1% then and you didn't know it.
Yeah.
Change the way you
Well,
look at things
and
and
the
the things
things
you
you
look
look
at
at change.
change.
Wow, you just sparked this memory. I haven't thought about this in a decade. I mean, this was when I
Well,
was
the
11 or
question
something.
is I haven't thought about it or wasn't sure. Listen carefully. So here's the mentor moment. You haven't thought about it because thoughts bring what? Feelings. Feelings bring actions and actions bring results. Pay attention. It was a program that was running. You didn't even have to think about it. Now that you think about it, you can change it. That program is one of the keys to why you're successful, because you are not going to get a sandwich bag lunch ever again. You made that commitment. I am never eating a bag lunch again.
Wow, man. That's wow, that's a really interesting.
And
That's
so
really
that's why you're
interesting.
successful. That's why you're driven. That's why you push. That's why I ain't got time. You listen, this is going to sound crazy, but you identify people whether they're bag lunch or lunch meals. Not consciously. You don't say, well, they're a bag lunch. I'm not spending time with them. But if they take time away if they embarrass you, you're done with them.
Good stuff, Skippy. This is wow. You definitely lit something up there. Some's on fire now.
So now understand this. You get to take this and you get to turn this into a huge business class section of your life, not just business class itself. This is a particular section. How many kids today, right? Because you're going to keep the parents from crying. It all comes down to this memory. Your whole goal to keep kids from crying and tears on their pillow is this memory. I was curious when it was going to show up, because I was curious what it really looked like in your world. Because nobody has, I don't want to keep kids from crying. No, you don't want to not have them do what you did or experience the shame you made your mom feel. That's where this really comes in, is the shame you made your mom feel. Can you imagine her having right now? Now imagine. So here's a suggestion. You might, in order to remember, forgiveness or asking for forgiveness isn't for them, it's for us. Hey, Mom. I remember when I came home from school and the headmaster told you that I was throwing the sandwiches away. I now know the love you have for me when you made those sandwiches. I wasn't taught how to love the sandwich. And for that, I apologize. Oh, mija, hijo, right? Those are all Spanish things. Don't worry about it. I remember that. You really made me mad. Or whatever. But this is kind of, if you were going through the 12 steps, we need to forgive the people we've wronged. This would be one of the things you'd go back and you'd say, I'm sorry.
Make amends, yeah. Interesting stuff, man. This just popped up now. Like I said, I haven't thought about this in a decade probably. Because what I did before, and this, I'm sure you're going to tell me if it's wrong or not. I was trying, so all that imagery from when I was a kid, when they got divorced and so on, I tried to kind of suppress that, like kind of put it with the other skeletons in the closet, I guess. Not to think about it a lot, but just to go forward. And now I realize that that's going to be a fuel to some degree. It's going to be a lesson to some degree. It's going to be a positive impact to some degree. And I guess I just never knew better until now. But now I know betterer.
Betterer.
So thank you for
So
that.
here's the other thing. When you can use this as a filter to list, because your whole world has just changed by the way you change this filter of this insecurity or this thing that you didn't know needed. Right. And then Shame narrated that you had a sandwich because nobody else had it, and narrated the fact that you couldn't have lunch money, that you had to throw stuff away. Now, pay attention. Here's the filter. What's the sandwich your clients are throwing away? When you go teach and train, what's the sandwich your clients are throwing away that they're embarrassed to show, even though it's them and they should love it? Your mom made these. I bet they were delicious sandwiches. I would love a sandwich for your mom. You want to take it a little bit, do you want to take it next level embarrassing? Imagine not even having a sandwich or the money, and then your mom stands at the door of the cafeteria and goes, shh, holding up the bag lunch. And
Yeah.
the sandwich is still frozen because we didn't take it out of the freezer the night before. Thank God I was big. Thank God I was strong, because nobody dare make fun of me. I was the tallest kid in the school. I was the strongest kid in the school because I was raised on the farm. You didn't mess with me. Now I wasn't the bully. But boy, don't mess. No, don't tick him off. That is the bison in the classroom. You can pet him, you can take a selfie, but boy, anyway, so we good with that? Everybody, anybody learn something big? Anybody have a big aha from that? Okay, here we go. So number 1 was insecurity or gap is noticed. Number 2, shame narrates it as a flaw, right? Narrates the gap. And then avoidance / collapse. That's the shame loop. Number 3, avoidance / collapse. That's number 3. Number 4 is.
I'm sorry, you said collapse. And
yes,
then collapsing.
Collapse. Avoidance /
collapse. Okay.
And then collapse.
Collapse. Okay.
Yes. Number 4, reinforced belief of inadequacy. Reinforced belief of inadequacy. And number 5, remember what we said in the very beginning. So let me say the quote again. Shame doesn't just say you did something wrong. It says you are wrong. And what happens is that we don't see things, we never get a chance to practice. So number 5 is no practice equals no growth, which equals more shame. It's a hell of a loop, isn't it? This is how skills stay locked in place, not for lack of talent, but for lack of safety. Remember, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be secure. How does the brain work? What's the 2 things the brain looks for? Will this kill me? Safety, or how fast could I recognize a pattern? And if you are about to go do something you've never done, feel a way you've never felt, think a way you've never thought, have actions and results you've never had, that is not a safety play. So, any questions on that? We're going to dive into each of them now. Okay. So, shame loop number 1, insecurity or gap is noticed. How about maybe you want to write these down. You don't have to, but here, let me hear. Tell me if you've ever heard this. I don't know how to do this. Anybody ever said to you, I don't know how to do this? So you realize they just started the shame loop. How about this? How about this one? Why is this so hard for me? What? Or here's a big one. I'm going to ask you to be a little vulnerable. Anybody ever say this? I should already know this.
I say that.
That is the beginning of the shame loop, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
Bonus.
I should already know this. So, you ready for the brain science? You ready to take a big breath? Everybody just take a big breath, clear the vagus nerve. Ah, I'm in the right place. What, Louise?
I actually have
Here
a
we go.
question. May I ask one now?
Sure.
Oh, sure. Well, AJ's story brought up an old memory for me. And as a kid in school, living in a country that I in all of the school pictures, I'm the only blonde with Irish skin.
Yeah.
All of them. So that when I went white, when we had our class reunion, there I was, light-haired, Irish skin still.
Yep.
It was great. However, it was great. That's how I've been until you were talking about AJ being the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And I the memory came back that one of the kids in the class who was Iranian, but she'd grown up in the States, was telling me, she says, Louise, you're so Iranian. You know the culture, you know the language, you know all of that, but you do realize you'll never be an Iranian. And then when you just asked, there's something I should know. There were things that she knew that I didn't know because of her living in the States and me never having lived in the States, that has carried, that had, I see that now as the shame, instead of me standing out saying I'm the only one with blonde hair, you know. I see that now, but that has been the core of my story.
Yep.
So that's along with this same idea, right? This is the same shame.
100%. And here's the thing.
Jeez.
You've never been able to get rid of it because now you have gray hair, the beautiful white hair, or you turn it pink, or you wear funky glasses. So you've been trying to deal with the shame by still standing out. Why do you think I wear the loud shirts?
Wow.
Loud shirts and crazy shoes. I mean, I understand now. I I buy shoes to, then I got to go match it with an outfit. I understand women when they say that. Ooh, these shoes, man, they make my ass look great. Well, I don't have a butt, so there's not a single pair of shoes that's gonna make my butt look good.
Thank you. Wow. Thank
Feel
you.
feel the release?
Yes.
And it's all childhood stuff. I tell you in my life, childhood. You don't know the last 5 years of my life. The last 5 years of your life has been hell on earth because of your first 7 years. And nobody wants to go there. But
Sorry.
yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was you. Go ahead.
But the point is that so here's what's really happening. So here's the brain science. This is why you want me in your corner. Not just because you know when people can't teach shame? Because they don't know how to get you out of shame. They can't explain it without shaming you even more. So the brain detects a difference, write down the word difference, between who we want to be and who we currently are. Isn't there a difference between who you, and this is why. You ready? You ready? Eckhart Tolle, The Power of, what's the name of that book? The Power of Now. There is no difference between, and this is what the brain detects. This is what you're told to detect. Well, yeah, but you're not living the life of a dream, and you're not this, and you're not rich, and you're not. So we detect there's that and there's this. All of the things that we've studied, gratitude blessings, are to get you into the what? Into the now. When you want to lose weight, when do you lose weight? Now. When you want to get healthy, when do you get healthy? Now. When you want the beautiful relationship, when do you get it? Now. But we think there's a separation between us and now. How much of a separation does it take for us to miss the opportunity? How much time? A decade? Between now, well, it'd be 10 years from now. 5 years? A year? A month? A day? A second? If we are not in it for 1 second, the shame shows up. Pay attention. Pay attention. I want you to do this right now. I want you to get yourself into the state. What's the one thing you want most? Just think about it. The one thing you want most. Now put yourself in the state you already have it. Not you thinking about it, not you could, but I mean, really just take a second, take a minute, and really get yourself into it. What would you feel if you had it? The fact that it's already here now, the fact that the money's here, the feeling, because you're lying that it's not, right? Because it's energetically here, but you just don't see it. But now bring it in, grab it, stack it, do it, feel it, bring it, do it. Just grab, this is what I want, this is what I want. And just say, this is what I want, this is what I want. Do it physically, physiology, move your body. This is what I want, stack it on your heart. Just say, this is what I want, grab it from the future. This is what I want, 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 this is what I want. I feel it, I feel it, I feel it. Say the words, I feel it, I feel it, I feel it. Is there any shame right now? Is there any doubt right now? This is all we have to do. This is all we get to do. The brain detects a difference between who we want to be and what we currently are. This could be anything from not knowing how to respond to criticism to not knowing how to build a website or an email list or a meme or a curiosity gap. The brain, what's really happening, note one is the brain detects a difference between who we want to be and who we currently are. The next little note is this could be anything from not knowing how to respond to criticism or to things like not knowing how to build a website, not knowing how to do a challenge. My apologies for making you want to do a challenge. Here's number 3. Here's the third bullet point. It's a normal learning moment. It's a normal learning moment. But in a shame-conditioned person, the gap triggers, this is key, the gap triggers threat perception instead of curiosity.
Could you say that again?
Sure, be happy to. It's a normal learning moment, but in a shame conditioned person, the gap, right, between who we are and who we think we should be, the gap triggers threat perception. This is a threat instead of curiosity. It's a normal learning moment, but in a shame conditioned person, the gap triggers threat perception instead of curiosity. So here's an odd question. What percentage of the people you are about to encounter who could use your services or your skills or your talents could be a shamed, conditioned person? What percentage? It's going to, my research is going to shock you. What percentage?
Could you ask that again, please?
Sure. You're about to go help people. You're about to encounter people in your world. You're about to encounter people at a gathering. You're about to encounter people who are curious about what you do. You're about to encounter people who want to sell you what they're selling. What percentage of those people, all of that group, all of the people you're going to encounter in your life, what percentage of those people do you think are shame conditioned based? Would you consider a shame conditioned mindset?
98% of them.
Unless you meet a schizophrenic, they're 100%. 99.999% of the people. This is what's known as addiction to approval.
Mhm.
We don't say shame because that makes it sound like you're being just mean. How many of you are totally excited right now? Now, here's the good news. I'm not stopping because right now you would all go. So here's what's happening in the brain. You all ready to hear what's happening in the brain? So here's the neuroscience. If you detect a difference between who you are, what you want to be, and who you currently are, and you notice that this is something from building a website to meeting somebody, how do I sponsor? How do I recruit? Whatever it is. How do I grow my business? How do I have more clients? How do I build a website? That skill that you need is a normal learning moment. Yet in a shame conditioned person, which now I've triggered shame in you because you're like, holy crap, that's me. Oh my God, I'm shame conditioned. Yeah, say yeah. I'm shame conditioned. Let's all go get t-shirts. Shame conditioned. And I love it. Right? Laugh about it, because as soon as you laugh about it, it triggers it, because otherwise we're triggering a threat perception. It is a threat instead of a curiosity moment. I got shame and I'm curious. Go ahead.
No question. Oh, lately I've been laughing at myself a lot more.
Well, so laugh in the awareness of the concept, or laughing to avoid the dialogue.
Like whenever I hear the negative self-talk, I'll start to laugh and just like get back into my gratitude.
Okay. We have to. You ever have a bully laugh at you and it cause you to stop doing what you're doing?
No.
The girls in school ever giggle at you and you're like, well, I'm not going over there again. They're just witches on broomsticks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what my point is that when we hear the laughter, it could be bullying. Stop thinking about being aware of your negative self-talk. It's not doing you any good. So let's just laugh about it. And because if you're repeating the negative self-talk, the laughing isn't helping.
Okay.
Just be aware of it.
Mhm.
Laugh saying it, you have to say the rest of the word. You have to activate the prefrontal cortex, which is what I'm about to teach you.
Okay.
When you laugh and say, isn't that fascinating? Who said that? Because it's not the you. It's not your self-talk. It's a self of you that's talking. But if you became aware of it, it's not the you that's talking, because you would never say that, right?
Yeah.
So you got to remember we're these multiple personalities. And if we go, oh, that's stupid self-talk, that's you're saying you're stupid. Going, who said that? I walk around on the ranch all the time. Who said that? Michelle's like, who are you talking to? Oh, never mind. So here's the neuroscience. This insecurity or this gap activates the amygdala. And we know the amygdala is the part of the brain responsible for what? For fear and survival. So if we need to activate a part of our brain, and we have a choice between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, which would we want to operate? Which would we want to activate? The PFC, the prefrontal cortex. That's known as the executive decision making. And this is where learning happens. This is why when you've heard, if you've been on my calls long enough and somebody comes to me and they are in a panic mode, you'll hear me say things to them. They're crying. They're just beside themselves. Hey, I get it. What's the name of your cat? What are you talking about? What's the name of your cat? What time is it where you're at? We're in the same time zone. I don't care what their response is. I am getting them to activate their prefrontal cortex, because if they can think, the brain says if you can think, you're in a safe space.
Okay. Make it down.
You know why I say, I love you, right? Because now you're trying to think of what I'm about to come hit you with versus what you're hitting yourself with. Well, isn't that fascinating? How's that working for you? Son of a biscuit eater, rata. I know how to trigger your prefrontal cortex.
Oh. Okay.
And what happens is when you laugh, you're still not triggering your prefrontal cortex. That's what's known as the default mode network you've created. That is a response. You're an idiot. You didn't say, no, I'm not. Who said that? So here's what we need to do. Write this down.
Mm-hmm.
When we become aware of this, now that you're aware of this, we can rewire our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Can give ourselves some new understandings. And here's what we want to give ourselves some new understandings. The new understandings are this. We move from what's wrong with me to what can I learn? Hold, please. The boss is coming. She called me to tell me she loved me and forgot I was on my call. At least that's my story. I wasn't wrong. I didn't do something wrong that she was calling me to fix. I was, because she didn't get to talk. So I tell a new story. She called to tell me she loves me. Does this make sense? So we go from what's wrong with me to what can I learn? So that's number one. That's number one. Number two, shame narrates it as a flaw. Here's number two. So it narrates it as a flaw. Do you know what it means like to narrate it as a flaw? To see something, and imagine that the guy from Mutual of Omaha, some of you aren't old enough to even know what that is, but imagine the B-roll, or imagine you're watching a National Geographic. And now the tiger steps out into the kill, and it's getting ready to, as it pounces on, right? That's the narration. So here's how we narrate shame as a flaw. You're not just unskilled, you are stupid. Don't nod so heavily there, AJ.
I'm understanding this because I know what you're talking about now. It's starting to make sense
Yes.
because firstly we notice what's wrong, and then on top of it being wrong, at least in our mind, right?
Right.
Then we start with the pounding. Then we start with the heavy hitting because you're stupid and you're fat and this and that and this and that, and you just add this whole bunch of crap on it, which wasn't even there.
No, kind of like you're in a wheelchair. They see me in a wheelchair.
Exactly, man. That was Jesus. Listen, I'm gonna let you continue because I can.
Okay, so this is shame narrating your insecurity, your gap as a flaw, and it tells a whole story. Why do you think it's easier now to understand how we have 80,000 thoughts a day? And we sure as hell ain't aware of them. And 80% of the ones that are repeated, they're not in our favor. How about this? How about this one? How about this one? Anybody ever hear anybody utter this one? You're lazy, you're not wired for this, and you'll always be this way. This is hard to teach because I know it's hitting all of you in some form or fashion and in some language. So take a big breath. Isn't it nice? Listen, imagine if you needed to have the code, right, to access shame, and you are now getting the code. You are learning the combination to the shame that has been running you, so you can say, there it is. And all we got to do is just turn the switch down. Turn it down, turn it off, do whatever you want, but it is not attacking you. How many of you have seen the cartoon or any cartoon where the little tiny dog barks into the big megaphone so it sounds like a real big dog? But it sounds like, right? That's what shame is. It's this little tiny voice. Hey, hi. Hey, you're not that good. You're stupid. Right? That's what it translates into. You could do better. Are you like, where's this coming? Okay, so here's what's happening. What's really happening is the inner critic. Any of us have an inner? Let me explain what an inner critic is if you don't know what it is. Your inner critic hijacks the learning moment and rewrites the story as a character defect. Dang, Gina, I'm gonna go cry in my pillow. This is ridiculous.
Repeat that, please.
Sure. The inner critic hijacks the learning moment and rewrites the story, that learning moment story, as a character defect. The inner critic hijacks the learning moment and rewrites the story as a character defect. Ready for part two of that? Here's what's really happening. Here's part two of what's happening. This is where many of you are going to be fully aware of this. Often the narrative that the inner critic is using, often the narrative doesn't come from us. It's inherited. A teacher, a parent, a coach, a boss. And it's embedded that judgment into our story. Often the narrative that the inner critic is using, it's inherited. We don't do things like that. People like us aren't like that. Why aren't you more like your cousin? You'll never amount to. Why are you reaching so high? You just be happy with who you are. And so what this instills is, when you've heard me say it, now you understand the shame of your success is that you're going to embarrass your parents. You're going to embarrass whoever laid this story on your shoulders. So it creates an identity confusion. Write down identity confusion trigger. Identity confusion trigger is this: skill deficiency equals evidence of unworthiness. Which is why I ask you to create a list of 500. That's what? Your evidence file. So identity confusion trigger is skill deficiency equals evidence of unworthiness. Here's the result. Hang on. Here's the result. And then we'll go to Raj. We don't just feel bad. We feel defective. And if we're defective, what's the point of trying? How many of you are totally excited that we're going to undo all of this? Not really. This is like a pain in the ass writing this out now. This is kind of like when you're sanding a car. If you've ever sanded a car, sanded a house because you're going to repaint it to find out the wood's rotten underneath. Oh my God, I got to replace all that too? We just don't feel bad. We feel defective. And if we feel defective, what's the point in trying? So do you realize how, this is why I got started in doing what I do in network marketing? Because I love what it can do for people. I despise what it does to people. And network marketing produces the highest level of shame of any business model out there. I should be, oh my God, look at Kathy. She sponsored 3 people. I sponsored nobody. And she's a house mom and I'm an attorney. Look at Connie. She casts a bigger shadow than I do, and more people are going to her fitness program than mine. We come up with all these stories. Everybody put how many of you know how to smile? Good. Tell your face. Hey, AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. So this is the imagery that popped in. When you talk specifically about this example of sponsoring people in the MLM.
Yep.
When I came on into the sales game, there's usually men, which means there's usually ego, and there's a lot of that in sales, right?
Yep.
However, what I did to kind of push me and propel me forward was I just took it. I took the beating in terms of I would sit down next to a guy, and we were on in a row, right? And we had our phones and our computers and whatnot. And I would see this person has 50%, maybe not even 50% of the vocabulary I have, of the phrasing I have, the wording I have, of the knowledge of the particular thing that we are selling to, etc. And he would make more sales. And I would be like, if this mofo can do it, I'm going to eat him alive. And so I use this shame as a fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the question is that something that we do by choice, or is that also a
that was wired in.
Okay.
Now, so law of opposites, right? Law of polarity. Law of opposite is, what could you use to create the same fire that's positive?
I guess just focus on the envelope at the end of the month.
No.
No.
Think of how many kids. Think of how many kids you could feed.
I didn't know that at the time.
I know. No. I know. That's what I'm saying. This is how we have to have the shift, though.
Oh, okay.
Because this old story just became the current story. Your brain, listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen. This is why when you start telling me shiitake about your life, I'm like, stop. If you tell me about this pain and suffering that you went through, I am not leaving you there, because you're telling me when I was little. No, you're telling me the little version of you is alive right now. The 6-year-old, the 8-year-old, the 10-year-old is alive right now because you just told the story of the 10-year-old. It is not an old story. It is a current story. So then I have to, my responsibility to you, not for you, to you, is to not leave you there. So I need you to come up with, not at the end of the check at the end of the month, how many kids do you want to go save this month? How many kids do you want to, how many kids do you want to help them feel proud to take a wrap sandwich to lunch? One's a good number. Look what it did for you. Do you see how much impact one little snot-nosed, bratty kid who thought he was broke and he was in the top 1% and nobody told him about it? One little snotty-nosed kid, bully, big-ass bully, bigger than his kids, tough, rough, kicking it. Look what he's done in his life in 23 years. Can you imagine what his life's going to be like when he's 46? Just double where he's at right now. He's going to do more than double what he's did in the first 23. He's going to quadruple 10x in the next 20 years.
But hold on there, Sensei, because so this is what comes out now.
Yep.
This is what's coming to me. If we tell a story of I was so-and-so from the past, obviously.
Yep.
And then automatically, as you said, the old story, that's not the old story. That becomes the current story. Where do we draw the line in the sand and say we
rewire the story as a learning versus an emotion?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yep.
That's so Silke asked the other day, why do you tell you that you were barely made it through high school? Why would you want people to know that? So they know the shame that I had to, that if anybody didn't do well in school or barely made it through school, they know what it's like to feel that shame. I had to live with that. I had to live with it. I wasn't the smartest kid in the room. I was always the one who did the I got one of the great, some of you know this, one of the greatest accolades I ever got was at the Dale Carnegie class I went to. 32 people. Everybody got awards for their work and this, that, and the other. They only give out one award for the one who did the most for the class. And it's the smallest plaque. But it is the most precious plaque you can get. I got it. That's now 25, 27 years old. It's right here. You think I'm kidding? I know you know I'm not kidding.
What?
Dale Carnegie, the one who did most for the class.
Nice shot. Nice.
Doesn't say the year, but this was probably mid-90s.
Hey, did you bully your way to it, or did you get it?
No, because I never did the homework.
I'm just kidding.
I know. I never filled out. I still have the Dale Carnegie 3-ring binder. It's somewhere. It's a big green binder. But I say that to say that's how I transitioned. That's when I learned the deficiency of my lack of university. I said, man, all of these people went to school and they don't know people. So that skill deficiency, that evidence of unworthiness that was wired into me by my mom, you need to go to school, get a good job. When I finally was vice president of sales of a publicly traded company, my first job ever, Mom said, finally. I guess she figures a lot of people that's their first job. Anyway, so that shame narrates it as a flaw. How many of you now realize that some of the flaws you have, somebody name a flaw you have just in your own head? How do you know it's a flaw? If you told me the flaw you have, do you think I would see it as a flaw? This is yes, I would see it as a flaw, or no, I wouldn't see it as a flaw. Which would it be? Do you think I would see your narrative as a flaw, or do you think I would switch it around and tell you a new story about that flaw? And you go, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. So ready for number 3? Oh my, who needs a big breath? Is this good? Is this good stuff? Okay. Number 3. We're just in the loop. We're just in the loop. The 5 loops, right? Here's number 3, avoidance or collapse. Now, I'll have to explain this expression because some of you probably don't know what it is. Ready for the expression? Ready for the phrase we would say? I'll just wing it. Now, let me explain what that means. Yeah, like I have to. How about this one? Again, this is number 3, avoidance or collapse. Another quote we might say is, maybe I'm just not meant for this. How about this one? I'll avoid it entirely so I'm not exposed. Ooh, snap. I'll just wing it. Maybe I'm not meant for this. I'll avoid it entirely so I'm not exposed. So here, you ready to know what's really happening? Here's what's really happening. Listen carefully. The nervous system. How many of you can put your nervous system in a bag and give it a little shake and bake and then put it back in? We don't. Our nervous system is a wiring that happens at light speed. The nervous system chooses protection over participation. So when your clients, your customers, your business partners stop participating, they've gone into lockdown mode. And biting your fingers won't fix this. You're already perfect. Y'all say this, I'm already perfect. And try not to throw up. I'm already perfect.
Thinking of many different ways how I could kill you, man. Using my hands, using a razor blade, using a gun, a pistol, a shotgun.
My
I'm
car. So here's what's really happening, part 2, right? There's 3 parts to this. Here's what's really happening. The first one is the nervous system chooses protection over participation. Avoidance shows up as perfectionism or procrastination. Avoidance shows, well, I got to get it right, shows up as perfectionism. Procrastination. Fake confidence. Silence. Or, wait for it. Let me know when you're ready. I don't want you to, anybody writing when I tell you the last one. Avoidance shows up as perfectionism, procrastination, fake confidence, silence, or we're going to let the big one. Ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Grab your seat. Switching goals. This is the avoidance or collapse of shame. Avoidance shows up as perfectionism, procrastination, fake confidence, silence, or switching goals. Collapse looks like apathy, emotional withdrawal, or chronic self-destruction. This would be so good for them. I don't know why they always do this. Shame. Shame is such a word, we don't even want to say it. Say the word shame. We don't even like saying the word shame. We're so wired to not say shame. But what did our parents say when you did something wrong? Or your teacher told you when you did something wrong and they couldn't discipline you? Shame on you. Talk about a woojie wooey wooey voodoo kind of crap. Shame on you. I cast shame on you. They just profess shame on you. Shame on you. I'm rubber, your glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Here's the subconscious logic. Ready for the subconscious logic? Aren't you glad you're here? It's like,
Hey, before
That's
that, can you go back? Could you go back and say and repeat? Collapse looks like apathy.
emotional withdrawal or chronic self-destruction. Collapse looks like apathy, emotional withdrawal, or chronic self-destruction. Ready for the subconscious logic? Here's what we say subconsciously. If I try and fail, I'll confirm I'm broken. If I try and fail, I'll just confirm I'm broken. So I'll just not try and protect the illusion. I'll wait till you get all that written. If I try and fail, I'll confirm I'm broken. So I'll just not try and protect the illusion. So I'll not try and protect the illusion of potential. Here's the subconscious logic. If I try and fail, I'll just confirm I'm broken. So I'll just not try and protect the illusion of, and you can put in there, my potential. Result? So, Heather, in doing your workouts, what do they call the activity? You need to do 3 sections with how many, what's the thing they call it when you do the movement?
Repetitions,
Right.
reps, sets and reps.
So here's the thing. You get no reps, you get no feedback. You get no feedback, you get no progress. Just stasis. So here's what happens in avoidance. You get no reps. You get no feedback. No progress, just stasis. So what would you say asking somebody to do a reach out, to do a meme, to do a live is? To do a rep. To write down their gratitude blessings. It's to do a rep. To do their journaling. It's to do a rep. I tried journaling. I did 3 reps. It didn't work, so I stopped. Y'all good? We're going to go on to number 4. Y'all good? Okay, number 4. Reinforced belief of inadequacy. Number 4 of the 5 loops. Reinforced belief of inadequacy. Reinforced belief of inadequacy sounds like, see? I knew I couldn't do it. How about this one? This is just more proof that I'm not built for success. Giggle when you hear these things going, oh, you little snap rabbit. You little snarky little whack rabbit squirrel, could you imagine a squirrel and a moose mating? What that would come out to? A merle. It'd be a merle, a moose and a squirrel, a merle. I want you to all giggle. I just want you to giggle because there's a lot of pressure in your body right now. That's just one more proof that I'm not built for success. Merle. What is a merle? It's a squirrel and a moose. What? You've got to rewire this pattern. I am doing everything to shatter this emotion that comes around this when you say, I just knew. I say, I'm not built for this success. I'm a merle. Say it. I'm a merle. Feel how it unwires it? So what's really happening? What's really happening? The avoidance or collapse creates actual consequences. So this is the reinforced belief of inadequacy. Number 4. What's really happening is the avoidance or the collapse creates the actual consequences. Actual real life consequences, like what? Missed opportunity, financial setbacks, relationship tension. You ready? Here's the second little bullet point. So avoidance or collapse creates the actual consequences, which reinforces it, right? Missed opportunity, financial challenges. Here's bullet point 2. These consequences look like proof of the internal narrative. How did we get here? How is this so wired that you're going, oh my God, this is a never-ending vicious cycle of shame. These consequences look like proof of the narrative. Hang on. Take a big breath. Clear your vagus nerve. This one's going to hit. This one's going to hit. What about the other bricks we've run into? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yet to the brain, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Remember, listen about the brain. The brain doesn't know anything to be positive or negative, right? It just takes it as what is. So when this self-fulfilling prophecy, this story of shame that starts to run, the brain just looks at it as what? Evidence. I didn't know I was so smart to have you do an evidence file. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy into the brain. It's just evidence. So here's the brain game. Here's the result. Listen, this is going to hang in there. Y'all with me? Take another big breath. Become aware because you are getting the inside secret. None of this would stress you. It would be freeing me like bejeebies on bejeebies. Shame, listen carefully. Shame creates, this is going to seem odd. Shame gains. Listen, this is going to be tough. Shame gains credibility as a belief system. Oh, snap. Shame gains credibility as a belief system. Ready? There's another sentence to this. The person now trusts their shame more than their potential. Oh, snap rabbit. The person now trusts their shame more than their potential. Any ahas, questions?
I have an aha.
Okay.
With this level of clarity, I feel like Well, I know that I can overcome a lot of psychological barriers.
Sure. Now, the question is now that you have this awareness, you're in a group mode. When you go back into your quiet, when this call ends and you're on your own, how are you going to recognize shame when it sneaks in the back door and says, that was a waste of time?
My evidence folder.
Which means you have to consciously be aware of how freaking amazing you are. Because when you're quiet and when you're silent, the enemy takes over.
Mm-hmm. Noticed that.
Physiology, focus, language, and movement. You have got to move your body. When you start to feel shame come in, you got to get up, turn around, sit down, do a jumping jack, do something, do a handstand, spit in the air. I don't know, do something. You got to move your body.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many depressed people do you know are out running a marathon? I am so depressed.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Nobody depressed is moving their body. Anyone else before we go on to 5? Okay, here we go.
This is the basis of it. This is what I saw. I'm saying it like it's everybody else. This came to me.
Yep.
Resistance and then arguing for this.
Mm.
No, that's not how it is. No, this is why. No,
Shame creates credibility as a belief system.
yeah. Truly BS. Truly.
The person trusts their shame more than their potential. Do you realize that you dealing with moms who are empty nesters, do you realize the amount of shame?
Oh, yeah. This is huge. That evidence file is amazing. And I'm so grateful that you brought that into my world.
Yep. Okay, number 5. We talked about it just a moment ago, but this is one of the loops. No practice, no growth. No practice equals no growth equals more shame. This is the title of number 5 of the 5 loops. No practice equals no growth equals more shame. Put a little star on your paper if you've ever heard anybody say this. Everyone else is growing and I'm stuck. Maybe you've said it. Hello, Molly. Here's a big one. It's too late for me. Molly. Here's what's really happening. You know, in network marketing, when a company's 20 years old and everybody talks about get in on the ground floor and they go, oh, I missed it. It's too late for me. So it could be at any way. And we use this phrase for anything. Because the person never entered the cycle of practice or they quit too early, the skill does not develop. Because the person never entered the cycle of practice or quit too early, the skill doesn't develop.
Brenda, once again, if you can,
Sure,
please.
sure. Because the person never entered the cycle of practice or quit too early, the skill doesn't develop. Because the person never entered the cycle of practice or quit too early, the skill doesn't develop. Here's what's really happening. Part 2. Their shame escalates, increases, grows. Their shame escalates because they continue comparing their inner struggle The shame escalates because they continue comparing their inner struggle to others' visible competence. Continue comparing their inner struggle to others' visible competence. You ever hear the phrase, don't compare your chapter 3 to somebody's chapter 27? That's it. What they're really saying is stop shaming yourself. But nobody says that. Nobody says that. Nobody says that. They just say stop it. And they're like, oh my God, they're on chapter 27. I thought they were on chapter 4. And then the shame cycle goes even more. We say all these things hoping we're going to avoid shame, but we wind up doing triggering it. So here's the social amplification, right? Social media, the social amplification. How about Instagram, highlight reels, hustle culture, MLM comparison traps? All of it becomes a magnifier to see, I'm behind, I'm not a failure. And I'm a failure, I'm sorry. All of it is a magnifier to see, I'm behind, I'm a failure. That's what social media does to us. See, people get mad enough and they say, all right, I'm going to work with you. Okay, don't do it out of a threat. I mean, don't date me because you want to piss off your boyfriend. Here's the deep internalized belief. This is a result in the brain. Here's what happens in the brain. Here's the story we run in the brain. I will never be enough. And this is all because of we don't practice. There's no growth. There's more shame, which then allows us to reiterate, I will never be enough. Here's the other part. Here's how it gets the loop is completed and the loop is reinforced. The next time somebody hits a growth or an edge, a growth edge or a skill gap, listen, just think about this logically. If you're going to come up against a skill and there's a skill gap or a knowledge gap or on the edge of growth, what already knows the way? The next time you're up against a skill gap and you're about to jump the bridge, jump the gap, you're about to grow someplace new, what already knows the way that's smoother and faster?
Future self, I guess.
Your old story, not your future self. You do it. Why don't you do more of what you're supposed to be doing?
Oh, you mean what stops you from?
Well, when you get there, it's not what stops you. What already knows the way? Failure.
Oh, okay.
Shame already knows the way. The cycle runs smoother, it runs faster, and it runs harder. We call it a effing comfort zone. And it is not comfortable. Why would we ever want to leave our comfort zone? So this continues to happen. Jim Rohn's favorite word, until we interrupt it. This is why I created Ness and Cetopsychogenesis and Brain Talk. Here's what we have to do. We don't get to. You have to. This shame loop continues until we interrupt it. And what we do is we interrupt it with language that dismantles identity shame. Isn't that fascinating? Dismantles identity shame.
You said it with language and
Language that dismantles
okay. Oh, okay.
identity shame. We have to dismantle this, not just that. So how many of you are Merle? Raise your hand if you're a Merle. The hell is a Merle? A moose and a squirrel. You are a Merle. Imagine a squirrel running around with moose horns. Right? See the giggle? I'm rewiring shame right now in your body. Merle, I'm gonna Merle the hell out of this. You've got to go at it with an alive version in your body. How many of you have I told when you do it, go give yourself a little micro win, a cup of coffee, to put a little whipped cream. Micro wins restore competence. Micro wins restore competence. I gotta win it. I gotta make $1 million. Okay, but did you make $1 today? Yeah, but that's not enough. Okay, shame. How's the shame game going? And listen to this one. Here's a big one. We're gonna end on this. We're gonna wrap it up on this and do some Q&A. Add, meaning make sure you're in environments, or you create an environment that honors practice over perfection. Environments. When we interrupt these loops, all of these loops that we just talked about, we interrupt them with environments that honor practice over perfection. So, all nail biting aside, what's your biggest aha? Look back at your notes. What's your biggest aha from this session?
My biggest aha is that, I understand the self-fulfilling prophecy now, and how shame has gained credibility as a belief system.
So, was
Huge.
there any shame in saying that?
Not here.
Okay. So, how do you take this to wherever there is?
Well, that would be in continuing to practice it, to continuing to understand it, continuing to.
So, if you get good at this, what happens?
Well, shame isn't going to be a huge player anymore.
Okay. So, do you remember so you've all heard me ask this. Now you understand, now you'll understand the complexity of the question. AJ said yesterday, these things, they just keep going deeper and deeper and bigger and deep. So who's going to be embarrassed? Who are you going to embarrass by your success? Do you realize what I'm asking you now, right? Who has shamed you into not creating your own success?
Someone that's not even in my life anymore.
Mm-hmm. And can you imagine how you're arguing with somebody who's not in the room and you call them crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and there's no shame around that, is there?
No, no, because we want to be right instead of realizing we've lost control.
Yeah.
How's that feel? How's that awareness?
It's like, you know how when you get new appliances or new electronics and there's that film that you need to peel off?
Yep. Clarity clear.
That, yeah, kind of, yeah, clear it and clear commercial. That's kind of what I feel like this film has
Mhm.
been just taken away.
So now the question is that once we take that film off, what are we afraid that's going to happen to the surface?
All that is going to get scratched.
Yes. So we put the film back up.
Ah,
So,
how about a protective coating?
well, how about if we just, once we uncover it, we realize that it's absolutely scratch proof. I'm shame proof. You can't scratch me. Isn't that fascinating? You're an idiot. Oh, some of my best friends think that.
And that's going to take practice.
That's where you get practice. That's where you get your reps in.
Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this. This is me loving you, right? Are you ready? Ready for the upgrade? Listen carefully. You are a sexy, beautiful woman. Where do you feel that?
I don't feel that.
Okay. So you're fat. Where do you feel that?
In my hips.
Yep. You are a sexy, hot mama. Feel that in your hips. Do your little shake. Shake your junk in your trunk.
It's shaking.
Right? I know this sounds crazy, but this is a big thing for you. You're this little peanut of a person, right? 5 pounds on me is like a deck chair off the Queen Mary. 5 pounds on you is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this workout every morning. You did it for a week now. You got 3 more weeks. You ready for it?
I want to say yes.
Yeah, but so if you said yes, it's because you'd love your hips.
I am so sore.
You're not. You could be sorer. Could you be sorer? It'd be tough, but it could be.
I get, yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose
So
it could
I'm
be.
just think about how good a shape you're in. Think about the tools you have. Okay, so here's the tough question, knucklehead. You know I love you. Have you used any of your tools to unsore yourself?
Yes, I have.
Have you used all
Yes,
of them? Have you used
I
all of
have.
them as often as you can?
No.
No, because that'd be taking care of me. I'd have to go over to the other side of the fucking room.
I will say I have used one tool consistently
Cool.
every day and another one every other day.
You giving yourself a foot bath?
No.
because that'd be too easy. I mean, I gotta get it out and it's some work and I gotta blah. But you know it would do wonders for you. Sit and just listen, put on some good music. Grab your phone and look at bikinis.
There we go.
This is huge. I hope this is, I know how big this is. I hope you grasp how big this is and what you just took yourself through. Now the realization is that you know that everybody you're about to go talk to is on a shame egg.
Yes.
And they're about to hatch it.
Yes.
And if it doesn't hatch, it breaks, the shame evolves more.
And so this brings up, as I was off camera, it brings up a question about, well, you were talking to Louise about the shame with homeschool moms, the empty nesters.
Yeah.
In my little bubble at this point in time, people are proud of their chronic illness because it helps them to fit in with people.
Yeah.
And so that is it's as if there is no shame around that anymore because it is so mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that get flipped on its edge? Or is there a flipping?
Well, there is. The question is that, so what happens when you don't have to wait for people with wheelchairs and walkers? What happens if you get to go on a trip that has hiking involved in it instead of ramps and slow slopes? It's called novelty.
Yes.
It's called the
Yeah.
opposite. What's the opposite? Hey, listen, do you know any healthy people? That'd be my question.
And that's a good question to ask people.
Yep. Hey, listen, I'm curious. Birds of a feather flock together. I know a lot of people who are in the wellness world, who are in the treatment world. I don't know very many people who are in the sick business, because we're not in the sick business. We're in the wellness business. Well, question: do you know any healthy people? And what happens if you started hanging around healthy people? The reason that you don't hang around healthy people is because you're not healthy. Listen, you're going to get the straight nuts and bolts here. You're going to get the double barrel shotgun, because what I do works. It makes you healthy. And the reason that you may not follow the rules is because you're afraid to be around healthy people.
Yes, I see that.
Sure. So,
And I appreciate this. I so appreciate the illumination on this path.
yes. Hey, listen, not to shame. A lot of people wind up with their identities because they don't want to make anybody else feel bad. But who's going to feel bad if all of a sudden you're not taking medicine? Are you okay if your doctor doesn't get his car payment because you stopped taking all the meds? Hi, Dubby. Yes, you heard Heather's voice. Hi, Dub. I know. Hi, Heather. Hi, Heather. I know. Say hi. Come here. Come up here. So that's a big question. Hey, listen, I got a tough question for you. You okay hanging around healthy people? What would happen if you went to bed at 9 o'clock?
I would miss my television show. I mean, I can hear that. I can
Right.
hear that from people. Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's
So this,
and every niche has their own shame story. Right, Dubby? Mm.
thank you.
Yep. So, who are you going to tick off when you find your sexy beau? You'll smile on her face.
There will be a
The-
few people.
The 28-year-old stud muffin.
Oh, that's way too young.
Says who? Says who? You're not 70 going for 28.
Well, I guess that's true. Wow. There's a lot there's a lot to unpack here. Thank you.
Right? Yeah. And we didn't even make it through all of session 1. We just made it through the 5 loop.
This is going much deeper than
Well, if we didn't,
any,
here's the
any
thing.
other.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's
Well,
much deeper.
I've watched other things, other people talking about shame and different things, but it's just been, I can see right now, it's just been scratching the surface of anything. There's not been a deep dive. There has not been a resolution presented other than, well, you just shouldn't.
Right.
Kind of like that Bob
Which
Newhart.
triggers more what?
Well, it triggers more shame because your inability to
Yeah, go figure it out, you loser.
stop shoulding. Yeah.
You shouldn't be shaming, so stop it.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 words, Bob Newhart. Stop.
Stop it. Yes.
What? Stop. Now what? What else? Next. Good stuff though, right? Good awareness.
Huge. It's bigger than good.
Good. Does it feel like you now can lasso the thing?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the important part. Everything you do, the reason I wanted to because this was 5 bullet points. It's all we went through was 5 bullet points. 5 bullet points, 2 hours, 5 bullet points. Yet the fear of going to talk about shame is leaving you there, which is why we merle it. I'm going to go get a t-shirt. I'm going to find some. I'm going to go have ChatGPT. I'm going to do that right now while we're talking.
Create an image of a cross
Mhm.
between a squirrel and a moose. Oh, that's hilarious.
Spell squirrel SQUIRLE.
Double R,
What?
double R, doesn't matter. They'll
Yes,
figure
it does.
Squirrel.
Squirrel and a moose.
Yeah.
Called a merle. No. Yeah, merle. Merle. MERR. Merle.
Or a squoose.
Or scloose. A scloose?
If
Scloose.
Silky was on today, she would have told you how you say squirrel in German, which was horrific. It's Eichhörnchen. It's horrific.
It already sounds like it's a cross between something.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Heather, I wanted to thank you for that image of that film that comes off, because recently, unknowingly, I've had a gadget for a long time, and I realized, what's this? It was the film just on one part that I hadn't taken off yet, and that just meant I didn't think anything of it then, but that was a great analogy. Really great.
Oh, here it comes.
This is how
Holy.
this is how good ChatGPT photos have become. If you look at my thumbnails, with all of the right spelling and all of the right stuff that I've done for the last few mornings, this is, look at that. There you go. There's your scloose or your merle. Look at, I mean, that looks, it could be like a jackalope, right? Y'all take a screenshot of that. This way y'all know what that is. Your moose, your scloose. That's too funny. Okay. Any last questions, comments, thoughts? What'd you learn? What'd you like? What's your biggest takeaways? My biggest takeaway is that there is so much to this that yet when we get to it, you realize how bad a taste it was, and you're like, I don't have to live there anymore. That's why I want to go so deep that when we get to the bottom, you look up and you go, well, right there's where I want to go. It's not that far away. I can literally grasp what I want, but this shame made me think it was universes away. And again, I teach because I need. This is training I needed. Awareness I need. That's why I share this. I'm just literally taking you on the journey. Yes, Reg.
I just want to share what I learned.
Sure.
So back to number 5, no practice equals no growth equals more shame. So because a lot of opposites exist, the same thing exists. So if they do practice, they do have growth, they're going to have less shame. That's what I learned.
Yep.
I like that.
It's all about the reps.
Yes.
Putting in the work. I did it twice. It didn't work. I tried everything. Put eggs in your pocket. You and the freaking eggs. Just ask.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yes, Louise.
What was a real takeaway for me is I've oftentimes gotten caught up. Well, I've always gotten caught up with the quotes of, don't should yourself, and all of these, including the ones that you have said. It just leaves me in more shame. And this uncovering has been amazing, and it's just the beginning, I realized, but oh my goodness, just understanding the core of all of this stuff in all of these decades of my life. I'm like, what? Really? You're a 1%er, Louise. All right, I'll take it. But there's the evidence.
And the ones who stand,
evidence, and not just saying it, it came with evidence.
the ones who stand out the most, whether you're too tall or too short or too pretty or make a freight train take a dirt road, if you are an extreme in any part of the world, you're in the 1%. They do stories about people who are 600 pounds. They do documentaries on them. They become a center point. They also do stories on people who are physically fit. Why not do a story on the average person? Because it's not newsworthy. It's not extreme enough.
No
So
novelty?
therefore, no novelty. Therefore, we're in shame.
Yeah, this was amazing, and this is just part one. Yay!
This is like 1.1.a of part one. This is probably going to be more than 5 weeks. This is probably going to turn into a 10-week course.
I'm here for it.
I don't want to go this deep, but I want to go this deep, and I don't want to build a 20-hour program, but I don't know how we get through it without it.
Well, I got my bottle of arnica for all my bruising, so I'm good.
There you go. Okay, good.
Thank you, Sean.
Dude, how many of you feel better now? Do you feel better? Okay. And that's the key, because when we listen, this is me going, na, 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 and you going back going, that's not it. Or, well, okay, we're going to talk about how to go platinum. I haven't sponsored my first person. That's why the only thing anybody needs to know is the next step. So somebody comes to you, Heather, say, hey, listen, I want us to spend a couple minutes talking, but I want to spend 10 minutes to see if you could walk. Because if you can do 10 minutes of walk, I can help you. Then go walk down to the end of the driveway and back. Are you willing to do this kind of effort to change your health forever? Because this is what I do. I don't take you into the unknown. We do some unknown things, but you'll know exactly what it is. But if you can do this, imagine us being able to go do this for the rest of forever. It's about creating the dream, right? We got to let them know. We got to give them some evidence that the dream is real. Let's go to Serbia.
Man, you need to have some serious stainless steel plated chutzpah to do this stuff, because I was looking at the camera row on the top of the computer when you said this was going to be a 5-part series, because I thought that the 5-part series are these 5 bullet points. And then I was looking at Heather, and the look of disbelief and betrayal in her eyes when you saw this was going to be a 5-part series. I was like, what the hell's going on? But I feel strange. It's a real difficult feeling to explain, because on one note, I feel like stupidest.
So hang on. Let's give me the business class version of what the feeling is. Don't feel strange. Don't feel duh. What's the business class version? Don't give me the little kid who's a little shithead in 7th grade throwing away sandwiches.
It was in the 4th grade, FYI.
Okay, so 4th grade.
Okay, you want a business class story? Here's one. When you want to do something,
No, but just tell me about the feeling. How
the
do you feel? Yeah. So what's the feeling?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I
You
feel,
said I feel
as
strange.
if,
I feel like lost. Tell me the business class version.
I feel as if I'm walking down the road and it's all foggy out there. It's real cold and foggy. And I stumble upon a set of stairs, and I try to take one step at a time because I can only see one step at a time because it's so foggy. And then you come on, you kind of shout at me from behind like, AJ, you forgot some. And you come up to me and you give me a flashlight. And with the flashlight, I can shine 2 or 3 steps above. So I'm taking the steps. I'm kind of getting tired, but I'm seeing that there's more and more and more and more steps. But the way I see it, how you present it to us, or in this case specifically to me, I feel as if I'm taking these steps, and on one note, I'm realizing there's so much steps. There's just so many steps ahead. I don't know how many, but I just see that there's so much. And then when we go through a program like this, or we start scraping off the ice from the top of the iceberg, and we see how deep this well actually goes, and how deep this iceberg is actually submerged underwater, I kind of get lost for a moment, but then I picture you screaming at me from behind and just kind of tossing whatever I need to make the next step. And that's really how I feel with this. And then because we're talking about shame, as I'm picturing walking up these, set of stairs, I feel shame because I feel like I'm in the spotlight. But then again, there you go from behind screaming at me and passing whatever I need, tossing at me whatever I need to continue walking down this road. And that portion feels liberating and empowering. So despite all the confusion and all the unknown uncertainty that we talk about all the time, just feels right to go down this program and kind of stack on everything. As we started with the DOS, then the mastermind, the ranch, this, it's all kind of, these are all the tools that you're kind of tossing at me, screaming at me from behind, like, AJ, you forgot this, you need this for the next step. And I feel great. This feels right.
Love it.
Was that premium economy, or was that
No, I love it.
that business?
Here's how I would throw it at you. You've had an experience most Americans don't. Some of you maybe. Do you ever get up when you leave a plane, they bring the truck up and you exit down onto the tarmac? Right? You don't actually go into the terminal, you walk on tarmac into the terminal. Imagine getting on a plane and it's foggy and you're getting off and you walk in it's keeping you protected from the fog and the weather and everything else. You get on the plane, but when the plane lands, this plane has this is the vision I got. The plane has a pretty unique departure sequence that when the plane pulls up and the truck pulls up, the steps you exit down, you walk down the set of steps onto the beach. And you're already there. You don't even have to get in the car. You don't even have to get your bags. The plane exits, pulls up right there on the boardwalk. And when you exit, you're exiting right onto the beach, onto the place that you relax. Are you willing to take the flight? Are you willing to buy the ticket? Most people aren't willing to buy the ticket. They talk about it. They look at it. One of the things that the challenge with looking up prices for tickets, they have this in their software, that every time you look up the price, it raises the price. Every time you go search for a price, that's why the prices never come down for vacations, because everybody's always searching for vacation. They base the price based upon the search. That's the algorithms they have. So yeah, no, I loved your story. It's different than I feel like this, I feel a lot, right? This is the language we use. This is how we tell a story. We need to start telling ourselves better stories. Love it. Who else? Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways? Listen. I love going into this stuff and watching to see. I don't leave a section till I watch your bodies. And that's when I say, okay, we've done this. I've repeated that enough. We've done that. We've asked this. And I watch your bodies. I'm watching for your shoulders. Thank you for having your cameras on, because otherwise I'd be making an assumption and paying attention to energies, but this gives me a visual that I get to see. I watch when you take your breath. So this is good stuff. You just listen, you are now literally in the top 1% of 1% of understanding shame. You know, it's kind of like you're a reformed smoker. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have shame. I wouldn't suggest you go say those things to people. Learn the language of helping them uncover it and walk through it. I didn't say your shame has caused you to not have an evidence file. I just said, let's go create an evidence file. Oh, what things am I good at? I didn't do a Pulitzer. No, did you graduate first grade? Well, yeah, I did that. How about second grade? Almost. How about third grade? Right? That's the value of the evidence file. Love it, love it, love it. All righty, my misfits of joy and happiness. I'm your brain training, uncovering and I chippy away the shame that's not you. I'll see y'all where?
The next
At the
event.
next event.
Next event.
Love it, love it, love it. Me and the Scaloose. Somebody give me some. Like he's still sitting here on the screen. Somebody give me some Costa Ricas.
Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Ida, and some Lydias.
Peace be with
Peace be
us.
with
Be
us.
with us.
Peace be with us. And the Scaloose of joy and happiness, Jesse Lee Ward.
Boss
I'm
Lee.
Boss
Boss
Lee.
Lee,
Lee.
baby.
And a little white fluffy.
Gurgly,
Gurgly, gurgly.
Gurgly. I love you tons. And again, this is on YouTube, so you can share it with some folks who you think might benefit from it. And if you're watching this and you've made it this far as a first-time guest, thanks for being a part of our world. We love you. And we'll see you all on Monday. Thanks, everybody.
Peace, man.
Bye, y'all. Have a good one.
Love you guys. Thank you, Sean.
All right. Bye for now.
Have a great weekend.